Warren told me that for this service, he said, you only have 10 minutes to do a sermon. Thank you that nobody cheered like the last service. Let me begin. This is a picture of my grandparents, and if you haven't been here, you're unaware. I was raised in an Amish family, Amish heritage. Both grandparents were Amish. My parents were Amish when I was first born, and then they left that. And this clock is an anniversary gift many, many years ago that my grandfather gave my grandmother when he asked her, what would you like for our anniversary they celebrate? She said, I'd really like a nice clock. This is an antique, it's called an antique train clock. The date on the back is crystal clear, 1913. He brought that home. They celebrated their anniversary. That clock has since been handed down to my dad, and then when my dad passed away, it's been handed down to me. It's now in my possession. It's an old wind-up clock. We still have the brass key for it. It chimes on every hour and every half hour. It's really quite incredible. Now, even though it's broken, can you see it's broken? Nothing inside. Everything inside works perfectly. It's the housing, the wood. There at the top, you'll see a little hook piece on the right that's not there on the left. Believe it or not, even though it's broken, it still holds impressive value on eBay. Not that I'm trying to sell it or anything, but it's just a surprise that the value is still there. Doesn't matter how broken. Doesn't matter how broken some things are, they still hold value. That's true of you and me. It doesn't matter how broken you may be. It doesn't matter how broken you may feel today. The circumstances of life sometimes come crashing in, and they can make us feel incredibly broken. And in the eyes of Jesus, you still hold amazing value. His whole life, his whole ministry was surrounded by brokenness. And what Jesus is about to declare is that it's for the broken of this world that he came. All right, it's a prophecy that was given 700 years before Jesus. Jesus is going to read this prophecy in a moment in the synagogue. And this is the series I chose for this year, is to go back to that old prophecy. And it's not that I'm anti-baby Jesus or anti-wise men or shepherds or Joseph. It's not the case. I love that part of the Christmas story. I've been preaching that part of the Christmas story for a long, long time. But this year I thought, you know what? Let's get back to the original intent. What was in the heart of God when he sent Jesus for us? And believe it or not, what the prophet will identify is exactly what Jesus reads for us. The prophecy comes 700 years before Jesus in a book of Isaiah, Isaiah 61. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, release from the darkness for the prisoners, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. This was one of Israel's favorite passages, by the way. They loved when this passage was read in church. This is the work of the coming Messiah. They couldn't wait for the Messiah to come. You would be able to identify the Messiah when he gets here. He's preaching good news. He's healing the brokenhearted. Now, the list of broken people in Jesus' ministry is quite long. If you know his story, you know it. The woman caught in adultery, the demonic man living among the tombs, the sinful woman who showed up at a dinner party uninvited, fell at Jesus' feet and wept, a man who laid by a pool of Bethesda for 38 years, a wee little man named Zacchaeus who climbed a tree, the woman at the well who had way too many partners, the man named Nicodemus who came at night and then left Jesus very sad. There's many more. The list goes on and on. They all have different names, but it's pretty much the same story, a story of where we just come to Jesus broken. It's not hard. It's not hard to see the world is broken around us this day. Oh, just tune into the news for a moment. You'll see it. Most recent, the murder of a insurance CEO. And then the celebration of people online, applauding it. And then people saying, you know, I'll marry the killer. I'll come live with you in prison for the rest of your life. Both women and men made that statement. The brokenness of humanity is all around us. There are people here who are broken. Surprise of surprises, every year I get a list of all those who have broken lives here in Lincoln, Illinois. In just Lincoln, I get a full list of all their names. It's called the phone book. My name is in there, so is yours. We all come broken before Jesus in one way or another. You're not anything unique today. The brokenness in this room today is plentiful. Broken bodies, broken relationships, broken homes, a broken view of life, a broken view of religion, a broken view of morality, a broken view of happiness, people with broken spirits. The Bible talks about such. Proverbs 18. The spirit of a man can endure just about anything, but who can survive a broken spirit? Sometimes the pressure of this world, sometimes the circumstances at our workplace, sometimes just family dynamics can just break a person's spirit. You know what that feels like. And then there are broken hearts. Even among us, some broken hearts today. You fully identify with Psalm 42. My tears have been my food day and night. With all this brokenness, where do we go for hope? So there's a man in the Bible who experienced a lot of brokenness that I just described. He experienced a big old broken heart. His name was Joseph. Joseph, in the story of Jesus' birth, had hope of marriage. He was excited for family life, and then everything went wrong. Yes, it was the work of the Holy Spirit, but from Joseph's perspective, all he could see was that Mary had been unfaithful to him. He just could not imagine that the brokenness of this world had invaded his life too. That happens a lot, by the way. Maybe we didn't do anything, but someone else's brokenness found its way into our world. Nothing in Joseph's hopes and dreams had prepared him for this. He couldn't imagine that this fell on him. He was a righteous man. I looked into the face and I saw the tears of a man because of the brokenness that was not his cause. And because of having to come face to face with the demise of a marriage, he looked at me and he said this, why is God asking this of me? I don't know. It's a lot for any person, no question about it. In Joseph's day, the law provided a punishment, but it did not provide grace. In the story of Jesus, there's a woman caught in adultery, and the law provided a punishment for what she had done, stone her. But it was Jesus who introduced her and the crowd to grace. If you're without sin, go ahead and throw the first stone. In the life of Joseph, the law provided a punishment. He could have had Mary stoned. Instead, you know what he decided? I'll just give up on this idea of marrying her. I'll just walk away. Oh. But God had invaded his world too. And the angel came to Joseph and said, we're going to do something different. Matthew chapter 1. Joseph, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son. You are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins. You really want to appreciate Christmas this year? You're going to have to believe in miracles. I mean, if you want to take your Christmas to a different height, you want the hope that Christmas provides, you need to believe in miracles. That a healing is on its way to you. It may not be here right now in the midst of your circumstances, but healing is coming. Something amazing is coming. It comes through Jesus and being connected to him correctly. The woman who was caught in adultery never felt stones because Jesus introduced her to grace. The demonic who lived among the tombs had the demons cast out and had life restored. The sinful woman who invaded the dinner party received forgiveness. The man who laid by the pool of Bethesda for 38 years received healing. The wee little man named Zacchaeus restored his character in front of the people. The woman at the well who had way too many partners went on to be a witness for Jesus. The man Nicodemus who came at night and left sad is probably the Barnabas of the new church. For every one of those names of brokenness, when they connected their lives to Jesus, something different happened. So it was a moment that God was going to reshape me. I didn't see it at the time. Walking a beach in Florida with a small daughter by the name of Stephanie, a little blonde girl. She was picking up shells. She had her little sand bucket, and I was following behind her, and she wanted some shells before we left for home. And she was bending over and just with delight, "Oh, Daddy, look at this one. Daddy, look at this one." And every time she picked one up out of the sand, I noticed it was broken. It was not a complete shell. She was oohing and eyeing over broken shells. And I was like, "Honey, look, over here's a whole shell. Look how cool that is." And she paid no attention. It just seemed like every broken shell on that beach that day caused her heart to just leap. I didn't see the beauty at the beginning. As I was walking behind her processing that, I almost heard the voice of God. That's my heart. That's the heart of Jesus. Come on, Ron, let that be your heart too in this world. God was shaping me for ministry, and I had no idea that in this world full of brokenness, I too would have to learn to ooh and ah. Look how pretty. You know, we come to Jesus today with all kinds of mistakes, and our lives are marred and grotesque in so many ways. The brokenness is on all of our lives. And there's Jesus oohing and eyeing as you come to him. Oh my goodness. We don't come pretty. We don't come complete. There's a hole inside every heart in the room. That's why we ran to Jesus. And when I found him, hope was restored. You looking for hope this Christmas? Joseph's circumstances did not change, by the way. His circumstances did not change. But when Jesus showed up, he found the hope of God. You want to take your Christmas to a new height this year? You're going to have to believe in miracles.